My mother hates me for telling my sister the truth. Original post. I want to preface this with an apology if it's all over the place. There's so much information to sort through and decide what does or doesn't have a place here. I will reply to what I can and make edits for any common questions/remarks. So, a little background is required for this to make any sense. Many years ago, my mother had an affair that completely blew up our family. I suppose the affair was the lesser issue, but rather all her other actions that screwed many of us over. For context, I was 10. My younger sister was 7 or 8 and my older sister almost 14, all female. To start with, in the years prior, my mother had taken out tens of thousands of dollars in loans and credit cards in my dad's name, of which she was never aware of. Ignorance, absolutely, but she had always managed all finances while being a stay-at-home mom. She also managed to make 5 years of GST payments disappear from the business account, for which Dad was then charged with 2 charges of around $100K and fines of tax evasion on top of the missed payments. All 3 of us kids had a bank account set up from young, which our dad had added to so that we would be in a positive position when we were older, for university or a house deposit, whatever it was that we desired. Being saving-oriented even as a kid, I had chosen to put 100% of any money earned through chores or gifted for birthdays into the account. Then at 14, when I began working and gained access to net banking, I realized Mom had drained my account and had less than $50 left on it. If that wasn't enough, her own mother had stored a sum of money in my parents' safe that was intended for her funeral. My mother took every last dollar and refused to pay it back, that my dad paid back with interest when he found out. Due to the tricky financial situation, Dad would travel for work wherever the trade was needed in that moment. Typically, he would leave in the early hours of Monday morning and return on Saturday afternoon. And this time, my mother felt it appropriate to leave us at home so that she could visit the affair partner, usually not coming home for days at a time. Nobody knew. We had no carers or access to resource, as we lived a 20-minute drive to the nearest town/stores. This went on for a few weeks, before my mom sometimes contacted our cousin to come stay with us while she was out. To this day, I believe that only happened because the other guy figured out what was going on. Due to timing of people coming and going, our dad didn't know any of this happened until months later. I kept quiet because I knew we couldn't afford to stay home. All this said, I stepped into the parent role. My little sister was kept in the dark as much as possible. I did my best to maintain her same routine, so that she felt as little impact as possible. Obviously, she suffered, to the point of requesting to sleep in my bed every night for a year. But it seems that she doesn't remember any of the crappy things that happened back then. My older sister was very mentally ill, where I had to medicate her each morning and conduct daily body and room checks. Those who know will get what I'm suggesting. To the best of my knowledge, our little sister never saw any of this. I didn't and don't believe those are subjects such little eyes should have to witness. Our older sister was also really ashamed and is asked to keep the situation away from the youngest, as she had a habit of speaking without realizing or knowing the potential damage. As much as I hated the responsibility, cooking, cleaning, hiding the family's dirty laundry, I was also very aware that what was happening wasn't okay. That if I couldn't keep it together and matters hidden, that authorities would become involved. Those times were scary, but the idea of not having access to and control over what happened to me or my siblings felt like it would be worse. These are only the first things that come to mind, but the details aren't exactly the point of this post. Anyway, I guess my younger sister's soon-to-be in-laws have asked some questions, of which my sister doesn't have the ability to answer. I would suggest she ask our mother first, but the queries would have been shut down. I know she feels guilty, knows that she screwed up, and frankly, I hope she never forgives herself for it. So, little sister came to me, and for the first time in 15 years, I was willing to give her the answers she was looking for. I've always been vague, not wanting to cause her pain, but I've started feeling guilty in recent years for not treating her as enough of an adult to make her own decisions. But after a lot of therapy, I have realized that I don't have to be their parent anymore. My sister cried, I cried, and she apologized for assumption made and words said because she didn't know any better in the past. She needs and wants time to process a whole lot of information that's entirely new to her, that has quite literally flipped the way she has perceived many people over the years. Anyway, she isn't speaking to our mother right now, and that's where it becomes my problem, I guess. She called me, blowing up, claiming I've ruined her relationship with her daughter, that I'm out to get her, resentful without cause, and need to stop living in the past. But I don't see how me being honest about her actions is my fault. Could I have filtered details? Maybe. But I don't understand why I should have to hold on to the pressure of keeping her shortcomings secret. Maybe it's time to grow up and pay for the consequences of your actions. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. I have a very similar story. My brother turns 18 in November and I'm going to tell him this summer. Parents are split and currently asserts his right to choose where he lives and spend 5 days a week with the right parent. In my honest opinion, I, like you, want him to make decisions as an adult because despite not remembering the early abuse, it matured him. I was old enough to get away during the separation 7 years ago, but he wasn't. The abuse continues for him. I parent him from afar because it's all I can do. I'm really sorry to hear that, but equally relieved that you had the ability to remove yourself while also remaining a support to your brother. I wish you all the best in expressing the truth and hope that he doesn't feel too much pain as a result. I'm forever relieved that my sister was always protected. Both parents continued to treat her as the unaware baby, whether to protect her or their own image. So sorry this wasn't the case for your brother. The audacity your mother has to blame anyone but herself for this. You are literally the reason she even has a younger daughter alive, because she's lucky she only has to face an angry daughter. Do not let her ever make you believe you have any responsibility for this situation. Ever. I feel like she thought she'd gotten away with it at this point, and that's why she's mad. To be honest, I only told my sister for selfish reasons. We've only in recent years developed a close relationship, and I didn't want to lose that if she became mad at me for not telling her anything. I know there was always a layer of resentment towards me for thinking I was the boss of her. She needed somebody to be mad at, and at the time, I was okay with that person being me. Curious about your dad. How is he doing right now? After knowing the truth, does your younger sister went living with your dad? Or does he divorced your mother? And all that money she stole, what was she doing with that money? Did you get any of your money back? Glad to see it turned out so well. And very brave of you to take your sister's rage knowing it was all your mother's fault. I wouldn't be that good of a human. He's doing really good, but of course had a long time to pick up the pieces. In his 50s and still working 6 days a week. Not because he needs to, but because he's never known anything else. His parents were immigrants, so it was quite literally bred into him. She's 22 now and living with her partner. She and dad never had a strained relationship, but after years of living exclusively with him, decided to spend the next few years with mom. Never any bad blood in either end where she's concerned. They did divorce long ago, and as much as I find it strange, they still have a relatively positive relationship. The money, literally who knows. Never saw a cent return though. Dad didn't know she stole from me until 6-ish years ago. Early on he was struggling, and I knew he'd try to put the money back if I told him. He knew something had happened for me not to talk to my mother all those years, but I hadn't told him, and she sure wasn't going to. Recently, my husband and I built our first home and he was insistent on cutting trade swaps to save money, which I strongly feel was his way for paying her debt to me. He's a great dad, has his flaws as every human does, but every step is taken has been with the intention of his kids not having to want for things as he and his siblings did. What a great man. Makes sense he raised a great daughter as well. Unfortunately, that terrible woman put on y'all's lives. Does anyone maintain contact with her? Any of y'all's sisters or yourself? I'm glad your younger sister now knows. Time to block your mom and let her suffer the consequences of her actions. She was cut out for a very long time. The stolen money from myself was the absolute last straw, which resulted in me going no contact for about 5 years. Part of me thinks she was glad for that too, because I had threatened to press charges against the mystery thief if she didn't fess up. But because of my sister's age, and her eventually choosing to live with mom, I felt compelled to be civil because I missed my sister. I live 4 hours from my hometown now, so maintaining a healthy distance is really quite easy. Given the incredible mistreatment you've detailed, you have nothing to be guilty about. You simply gave your younger sister the truth you were hiding from her for too long. Your mother sounds like she's never taken any real responsibility for some really awful decisions she made, the affair being only a part of the damage she inflicted. You sound like a lovely, caring man who was forced to become a caregiver not only to your younger sister, but to an older sibling with some major issues. Good for you to stop trying to protect your mother and for being honest with your sister. I'm female, but regardless, I appreciate the sentiment. She's never taken any responsibility, only made excuses. My favorite was the one for her leaving us to care for ourselves. You all made it clear you didn't want to spend time with me. Narcissism. The only reason she's mad is because your sister doesn't feed her ego anymore. She isn't even a little sorry for what she did. She's just mad accountability costs her something. Absolutely. That's her through and through. Has only ever been out for herself, no matter who she harms in the process. Luckily, you are not your mother, and just know, blood doesn't make family. Family are the people you want to be around that build you up, not break you down. You and your sisters are family. When you're done, cut the tumor out. And please keep being a wonderful sister to your true family. Hugs and best wishes, OP. Couldn't agree more. I long ago created a family I wanted and needed. Blood relatives don't mean jack if they're only in it for their own gain. Thank you. Now for the updates. And now she's resorted to posting on Facebook, claiming that one of her ingrates are spreading rumors to ruin her. I don't even have Facebook, so not really sure what she's trying to achieve in doing this, but an old family friend called my dad to ask what's going on. Also, I'm speaking to nobody about the situation. I don't even live in our hometown. If nothing else, she has nothing for me to ruin. No way I'm engaging or sinking to her level. But seriously, what a waste of a person. Now the parents are fighting. She is fighting with her current husband, and things are all around just getting messy. She thinks she's making people feel sorry for her, but mostly she just looks pathetic if you ask me. Second update. Turns out I really don't need to sink to her level. That's been taken care of while I sleep. I guess mom's privacy settings aren't great and that's working against her. The vague woe is me post has been shared by 3 family members/friends with a single but far less cryptic one-liner. Oh, you mean the ingrate that raised her kids? Should she be more grateful for your affair or the complete and utter abandonment of your 3 kids? And my absolute favorite from my granny. Rotten hell, you lying thieving witch. Granny was not holding back here. You are born with a finite amount of cares. Granny ran out years ago. I was once told a woman is born with a bag of care. Some are bigger, some are smaller. Throughout your life, you give these cares away. Until one day, normally in your 30s, you reach in to give another one and you realize there are no more to give. My bag ran out about 10 years ago. Lol. Sounds like Opie's mother is finally facing some consequences. And it's so stupid of her. Her stupid ego couldn't take not being regarded in a positive light, forgetting she was in a very fragile glass house when she threw stones. So she has to go making herself the victim, despite the fact she's a thief, a liar, and a cheat. Granny doesn't mess around either. One of 2 ironies in this situation is, if she had just continued to STFU on all fronts, she wouldn't be reaping the public consequences of her actions on Facebook. Since she's the narcissistic idiot that purposely publicly announced her BS, not OP/both sisters/the father, nor younger sister's fiancé and its parents. She really had the audacity to think no one publicly online would call her out. Yet it's her side of the family, especially grandma, her own mother, telling her to rot in hell are the ones that ripped her new one, not OP/the sisters nor the father. Hence the second irony of all this. Last story. My stepmother threw away my late mother's possessions 5 years ago. My 23 female late mom died over 10 years ago, and over 9 years ago, my dad 49 male remarried to my stepmother. My stepmother and I never were close. I missed my mom like crazy and would try to talk to my stepmother about her, but she didn't seem interested. Every time my mother was mentioned, she'd stop engaging in conversation and just go on her phone or walk away. When I was 17, my grandmother had told me that she was creating something special for my 18th birthday. I asked for a hint, and she said it had to do with someone I missed a lot. That night I cried a lot. I knew she was going to create something to do with my mother. A while after that, my dad called me. He said he had some bad news, while sniffling. He said that my stepmother threw away all my mom's possessions. Not one thing was left, not even sentimental items. I started crying, and my dad comforted me over the call and then started crying with me. I know you aren't supposed to make major decisions when you are emotional because it can lead to reckless behavior. But I was so mad and sad that I decided to drive to my dad's house. My grandmother opened the door, but I just walked past her. I went straight to my stepmother. I started yelling at her. calling her something along the lines of jealous, vindictive witch. I said a lot of vile words. I told her I never wanted to talk to her again. She tried to apologize, but I just blocked out everything she was saying. I ignored what everyone was saying and just left. Since then, my half-brother was born. I have nothing against him, but I barely visit him. My dad didn't immediately forgive my stepmom. He stayed for half-brother, and after 3 years of the couple's counseling and therapy, he forgave her, although their relationship was never the same. Some family members have told me I'm being dramatic. They told me to get over it, and that has been 5 years. It doesn't matter how many years it will be since she did that. 5 since I knew, and 7 since she did that, but I will never forgive her. No amount of apologies will bring back those stuff, those memories. Yup, what she did was vile. No contact is best. There's no getting over what she did. Some people are just too petty, too small, too stupid, and too ill-equipped to be in a relationship with a widow/widower, especially one with children. It would be good if they recognized that and bowed out early. But no, they stay, and they do crap like this because they can't bear everything not being about them. There was a story a few years ago about a woman who was so jealous of her husband's deceased wife. Not only did she throw out all the possessions and photo albums, she went onto the computer and deleted all digital photos. The husband had a 17-year-old daughter. There was never an update, but I wonder what happened. She said both the husband and daughter were angry with her. She was pregnant, which complicated the situation. I imagine the husband tried to make it work, but the relationship eventually broke down. It doesn't matter if it's 5 years or 55 years. These are the only things you had of your mother. And your stepmom was so petty, insecure, and threatened by a dead woman's belongings that she decided to throw them away. She could have given them to you or your grandmother if she didn't want reminders in the house with your dad. But no, she decided to destroy any potential of a future relationship with you. Stay no contact. Tell any family that's telling you to forgive that they have never had to be in your position, so they have no advice. And if they continue to be idiots, tell them off the same way her dad's current wife was told off. Screw them to hell. Feed them pig dung and fish guts.